What is the wittiest comeback you have ever heard? When I was 17, my conservative Mormon mother, Karen, decided it was finally time to have a serious talk with me about sex. It wasn't one of those casual conversations. She had clearly been planning it for a while. She went all out. And part of her setup was surprisingly theatrical. She brought out 2 slices of chocolate cake from a nice bakery. They weren't just any slices. They were perfectly decorated, with swirls of frosting and little chocolate curls on top. She placed them on the kitchen table and sat down across from me, folding her hands neatly in her lap, her expression grave but somehow tinged with pride. "Now, daughter," she began in that slow, deliberate tone she always used when she wanted to make a point. "This is you with your virginity." She gestured to one slice of cake, untouched and perfect, glistening under the kitchen light. I nodded nervously, unsure of what to say. She wasn't finished. With a sudden motion, she pressed her hand down onto the other slice, squashing it flat, frosting smeared across the plate. "And this is you without your virginity," she said, her voice even more serious now. "What slice of cake would you rather give to your future husband for time and all eternity?" I stared at the 2 pieces, trying to process the metaphor. One was pristine, the other completely flattened, looking almost unrecognizable compared to the first. My stomach twisted. I knew this was supposed to be some life-altering lesson, but all I could think about was cake. Chocolate cake, my favorite. I hesitated, then looked from the crushed slice to the perfect one, trying to frame some kind of respectful answer. I could feel my heart pounding. This was one of those moments where everything you've learned about what's right and what's expected comes rushing at you at once. Karen was watching me like a hawk, waiting for my answer. Finally, after what felt like a very long pause, I shrugged and said as casually as I could, "But, Mom, they taste the same." There was silence. I thought maybe I had completely ruined the moment. Karen blinked once, her mouth opening slightly, as if she didn't know whether to scold me, lecture me, or laugh. For a split second, it felt like time stopped. And then, she didn't scold, she didn't yell, she just looked at me incredulous, like she was trying to figure out if I was serious. I don't know if it was the way I said it or just the audacity of the response, but it completely deflated the intensity of the whole moment. I remember my older sister, Hannah, walking by the kitchen a few minutes later, noticing the situation, and nearly falling over laughing. "Oh my God," she whispered through giggles. "You just roasted Mom with chocolate cake." From that day on, it became one of the stories my sister brought up constantly. Every family gathering, every casual conversation about my teenage years, Hannah would bring it up. "Remember the time Mom tried the cake lesson and you destroyed it in one sentence?" And she would laugh until tears were streaming down her face. I'd try to roll my eyes, but I couldn't help laughing too. It was just too ridiculous. What made it so perfect was the simplicity and the timing. The setup was absurdly theatrical, and the weight of it felt like it would crush me with guilt or embarrassment. But one simple observation about taste turned the entire lecture on its head. It wasn't mean-spirited or shocking, just clever enough to deflate a very serious moment without being disrespectful. Even now, years later, that story comes up often in our family. My mom still remembers it too, though she pretends to act slightly offended. She can't deny the cleverness of the comeback, and somehow, it still makes everyone laugh. It's become one of those perfect family anecdotes, the kind that doesn't need exaggeration to be funny. The moment has stuck with me, not just because it was hilarious, but because it showed that wit can turn a very awkward, high-pressure situation into something memorable and lighthearted. That day, I learned that sometimes the best response isn't profound or serious. It's the one that makes people laugh, even in the middle of a lesson about eternity and chocolate cake.